Hello and welcome back to the live GT Cup Championship from Donington. A sunny Sunday at Donington Park. It doesn't get much better than that until you then throw in quality racing. And that's exactly what we've got for you right here at Donington this afternoon. We'll be getting our pit stop race underway very, very shortly. Before we do that, let's have a look at what happened in yesterday's endurance race with Richard John Neal.
Saturday's endurance race proved to be one of the classics of the GT Cup Championship. Matt Manderson making a superb start. Richard Neary on pole position, dropping back to third place behind Seamus Jennings in the early stages. But everybody had a good, clean start on a beautiful sunny day. Simon Orange went a little bit wide in the Ginetta. He was followed by his teammate in the 17 car, Russ Lindsay. The team hard runners in GTA having problems, had to start from pit lane, but made great progress through the field in the first half of the race. Manderson soon came under pressure from Neary Senior. Neary taking to the gravel at some stages, kicking up the dirt in his pursuit of the GT3 Aston Martin, but Manderson was looking good at this stage, soaking up the pressure and putting in some great lap times as well. Russ Lindsay and Patrick Collins in the 17 Ginetta picked up their first win in their maiden season of GT Cup racing in the Ginetta G55, but there was a clash for the lead. Manderson tagged by Richard Neary, both got going again, and it was the Mercedes that looked as if it was going to be heading for double victory, Richard having won in the sprint race earlier on in the day. Lambo fever was prevalent once again. The number 13 Lamborghini of James Webber, welcome invitation entry, running well. So too was Richard Chamberlain. The 1972 911 had turbo problems on Saturday, but they worked hard, got it out on track, and he made up lots of places in the first stint of the race. The pit stop window opened. Greg Caton would take over the 33 car from Seamus Jennings. Young Sam Neary taking over from his dad, and Marcus Clutton, of course, taking over the Lamborghini from John Seal. Changing the GTA class, James Kellett taking over from Alex Stevenson, and they were heading for their second class win of the year. But what about the battle for the lead? When they came out of the pits, the lead was 15 seconds for Sam Neary, but Marcus Clutton, also doubling up in radical challenge action this weekend, got his head down in fine style and managed to catch the Mercedes. As they always say in racing though, catching is one thing, passing is very much another, and Clutton had to work every racing line going around Donington to try and poke the nose of the Lamborghini down the inside line of the Mercedes. He did it here on the exit of Coppice, but watch young Neary fighting back now, grabbing the inside line down into the Fogarty S's. Mercedes at this stage was clearly not going to be shifted, and these two engaged in battle lap after lap, producing a classic motorcar race, let alone a classic GT race. Clutton though, with perhaps the advantage of a little bit more track time over the weekend, as I say, having raced in the Radical Challenge and leading that championship too, managed finally to edge ahead on the way down through the Craner curves and into the old hairpin. Neary though was not to be defeated easily and fought back at every single opportunity to try and recapture the lead and make it a double for the ABBA Commercials Mercedes. That wasn't to be though, and across the line went Marcus Clutton, paired up of course with John Seal to take a famous win in the 55 Lamborghini.
Thanks for that, Richard. Well, we are moments away from today's endurance race, and the cars are imminently going to be heading out onto the grid. The last race has just finished. While we wait for that to happen, earlier on I had a chat with one of the pro drivers that's here this weekend. His name is Tom Ingram. If you are a fan of British touring cars, you may just recognise him. When it comes to the endurance pit stop races, it's often two drivers, and the great thing is pro drivers get involved. And I'm joined now by Tom Ingram, who is one of the pro drivers, British touring cars.
Yeah, so I've been exactly as you say. So when we have the pit stop race in the afternoon, it's a two drivers. So I've been drafted in as the village idiot to try and get us towards the front, I think.
So obviously you haven't been out yet today because it was your partner in crime. I'm surprised. Actually, he's there in the background. I don't know if you can see him. So yesterday, how did it go? Because obviously that's when you were racing.
Yeah, so the result yesterday, we got a second in the GTH class, which is fantastic. Good for Ron because he's kind of back at it. He's had a little bit of time away from driving the car. So yeah, it's great. It's great to be out. It's great to be driving. It's great to be driving the new car for Speedworks as well. This is the first time that the Supra has been out in the UK this year, so it's been competing in British GT, and then obviously we've been doing this weekend as well. So yeah, it's enjoyable. It's a great car, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
I was going to ask you actually, how is the car to drive? What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, it's great. So obviously with GT4, it's a lot more road-based than what I'm used to. So with the British touring cars, it's an entirely bespoke-built car. With GT4, this kind of starts life a little bit more road car based. So this is the new generation of GT4 cars now. So we're starting to see them come through with a lot more of the sort of the GT3 technology as well. And I've been thoroughly impressed with the Supra. I've really enjoyed driving it. The balance of the car has felt superb, and it really helps for a pro driver to be able to jump in and get the best out of it, but also for the AM drivers, it's incredibly user friendly. It's a great little all-round car so far.
And you aren't a stranger to GT Cup, are you? Because you have been here before.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. So I raced in GT Cup back in 2015 with a friend of mine, Marcus Hogarth, who was driving a Ferrari 458 Challenge spec. So yeah, it's not my first time competing in GT Cup. I love it. I really enjoy coming to the events. They're really well organised, great bunch of people that run them, and they're thoroughly enjoyable. So yeah, can't say good enough things about it.
So how are you feeling ahead of today's race?
Looking forward to it naturally. I'd like to try and go one better than we did yesterday. Ron thankfully did all the hard work for me yesterday. I just had to jump in the car and bring it home in seconds. So I had the easy stint. It was Ron that did all the hard work, thankfully. So if we can repeat that or go one better, I'll be well chuffed.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Tom. Good luck.
Thanks so much.
Well, good luck to Tom and Ron as they go for it again in today's endurance race. Ron's quite a character. Let's see if he puts in the hard work like it did before. We're still here in the pit lanes at the moment. Actually, the grid opening is just to my right, so I'll be scooting over there shortly, but the cars still haven't quite gone out, so you can see the final adjustments really are all being made. We've got the number 9 GTA car here just behind me, and a few of the others. They are making the final adjustments. Obviously, the cars need to know that they are ready because this is endurance. It's a 50-minute race, so they need to be in tip-top condition, as it were. So what I'm going to do is, while this is still happening, is I'll hand you back over to Richard, who can take you through the grid. Richard, over to you.
Very much, Michelle. Yeah, actually very well placed there outside the number 9 garage. There's a little bit of a story with the number 9 Ginetta, which we saw have a retirement in race 1 today. And it was actually a mechanical failure, power steering failure for Alex Stevenson. Actually, the fastest incident he's had in a race car so far. The thing went and spun around at 125 miles an hour. Luckily, the belts that came off stalled the engine, so had they not, the engine would have blown, I'm told. So a little bit of technical information for you there on that. That car is okay, everything replaced, the power steering okay. Alex might be a little bit nervous after what was his, as an amateur driver, one of his first big moments in the car that he has had. And that's the key point about this championship. It is a mix of the amateur drivers like Alex Stevenson who are learning their way in the championship, learning their way in motor racing, and then the pros, such as James Kellett, who is Alex Stevenson's co-driver, and Tom Ingram, the man we just heard from. And fantastic to see Tom back in the GT Cup paddock. I must admit, it slipped my mind that Tom had raced in GT Cup before, but always a very welcome visitor, and I've known him and his family a very long time, going back to karting days and followed him through Kart Stars back in the days. But you know, what a long way to come, and that of course is the dream of many youngsters as they make their way up through the motor racing ladder. This is a great shot though, gives you a real feel of the gradient along Wheatcross Straight. There is the Toyota run by Christian Dick's Speedworks team. Again, Christian, a driver I've known for a good while, and his stepdad Paul Sheard through the years as well. That's another story actually with this car, the 26, the Aston Martin GT3, has been driven over the weekend by Matt Manderson and Mike Brown, and Matt battling it out for the lead in the early stages of yesterday's race. It's just going to be Mike Brown racing the car in this one. I haven't managed to, it's a bit of late news coming through, we don't know why, I haven't heard from the team why that is, but it's going to be Mike Brown who takes to the grid for this race, and he's going to be doing it on his own. So how do they line up, and who have we got in the entry for our fourth race of the weekend? Well, without further ado, let's go through the grid, headed by Richard and Sam Neary in the Mercedes, Seamus Jennings and Greg Caton in the Porsche 911 next up, from James Webb in the Lamborghini Huracan. Sadly, fourth on the grid was due to be Jim and Glyn Geddy. They had a wheel come off the car in race 1, not starting sadly race 2. John Seal and Marcus Clutter next on row 3 with John Dillon and Phil Quaife. Matt Manderson, as we've heard, not starting, but Mike Brown will take the wheel of the Aston Martin GT3. Next up, it is Ben Claydon onto row 5. Tom Barrow in the multiple winning this weekend for at least BMW 150 GTR. Jensen Lunn and Warren Gilbert in the Top Cats Racing. Marcus Mantis completing row 5. So moving back onto row 6 of the grid, John Whitehouse and Steve Ruston, the defending champions in the McLaren. Then it's Matt Topham and Alex Toth-Jones in the Newbridge Motorsport Aston Martin GT4. Josh Jackson on row 7 with Craig Wilkins. Josh taking over the championship lead in this morning's race. Craig Wilkins, after a torrid day yesterday, didn't get any more than one lap in anger yesterday, but back out in the Scott Sport prepared Ginetta GT55. Next up is Jensen Lunn with Charlotte Gilbert, Ron Johnson and Tom Ingram, who we just heard from there on row 8 of the grid. Row 9, Chris Murphy. He is alongside Callum Jenkins and Harry Yardley-Rose for Team Hard. Row 10, Dave Scaramanga with Will Powell in their Ginetta G55 GT4. And 20th on the grid, Patrick Collins and Russell Lindsay had their first win in the championship in yesterday's first race. The grid completed by the 911 Porsche number with David Franklin and Wiltshire Gertha. And finally, the non-finisher from race number 1, Alex Stevenson, partnered by James Kellett in their Ginetta G55. So a very competitive grid are making their way down through the Donington Loop, and they'll be with Michelle in just a couple of moments.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Richard. Well, yes, we're on the grid. Here we are in the bright sunshine. The cars are starting to take their places. It's looking good already. Now, this is the pole position here. You're looking at the green and black Merc. Sam Neary is starting the race this time. Actually, the person that's leaning in on the driver's side here is his dad, Richard, and he's going to be second place. We're just coming to say hello. How's it going? You ready, Sam? Yeah! So there you go, that's the father and son now on Now yesterday, I believe that was quite a battle going on for first place, so a nice long lead is what's needed for Sam in this endurance race. Are you ready? It is the final race of the entire weekend. It's a great way to finish here at Donington. So let's go racing. I will hand you over for full commentary of this 50-minute endurance race to Richard John Neal.
Thanks very much, Michelle. Really looking forward to this. It's been a super weekend. Great company as much as anything else. We all come racing, to watch the sport, to watch the magnificent cars, the superb feats of engineering that make it onto track, but also as much as anything else it's about the people. And obviously we miss the numbers that we've had on the banks at all the meetings so far this year. We've got a few spectators in today. They are segregated from the paddock for those of you watching from home, wondering if we are wandering around with the general public. We're not. We're in our own paddock bubble, so we haven't had a chance to mingle with the race fans this weekend. But it is about people, the people that prepare the cars, the people that run the championship, the people we work with. And if that wasn't a great environment, we wouldn't come racing. That's why these guys and girl are out there on track. So pole position, and he's going to have to be looking to build a big lead, is Sam Neary. The winning margin in race number 1, I don't think I covered that off at the end of race 1, but it was 1 minute 1 seconds, 61 seconds 4.413. over the Porsche 911 of Seamus Jennings this morning. And Sam's going to have to do the same thing. And the best way to think about the endurance race is that effectively it's 2 sprint races punctuated with the pit stops for perhaps a driver change. Remember, we have got some cars that just have the one driver in. So Sam will be looking to try and build up that lead. And if he's got a minute lead by the time they come into the pit lane, which will be open after 24 minutes of racing is completed, then I guess he'll be happy. And then his dad, who of course won the sprint race yesterday, Sam needs to build up a big lead to help his dad, but his dad's perfectly capable of winning the race in his own right as well. And that's really the story of what we're going to be looking for in terms of the overall victory here today. The pit stops themselves, if it's a one-driver car, they will still have to pit. They have a minimum pit stop time of 60 seconds. You add to that a pass-through pit lane time, which is 15 seconds. And then if you've been successful in the championship before or are coming back to the championship, then you get a further penalty as well. So I think the longest pit stops are 95 seconds for the most successful drivers in the championship, and it helps balance things out amongst the classes. So instead of having ballast, give time penalties. There is the number 9 car that we said has a new steering equipment on the car, and that's going to be driven by Alex Stevenson, the Scot, who was born in Edinburgh, lives down in the UK, lived in England for much of his life, was born in Edinburgh and proudly runs the Saltire atop of the car, sharing with James Kellett. There in the 17 car is Russ Lindsay with Patrick Collins, and the number 17 is going to be started by Patrick and hand over to Russ Lindsay. Both of them, as I think I mentioned before, former BRSCC Mazda MX-5 championship drivers and having their first season in GT Cup, so effectively moving up from production sports racing into GT racing, and doing very well for themselves, I have to say as well. They are in GTA currently in third position in the championship. Josh Jackson and Simon Orange leading GTA from Callum Jenkins on my maths, with Russ and Patrick in third place, and then James Kellett and Alex Stevenson in fourth place now, actually ahead of the Lotus of James Simons and Fraser Smart, which has had another torrid weekend, a non-classified finisher yesterday, and sadly not able to make it out today. Had gearbox selection issues yesterday, so I'm guessing that's the case with the Lotus Evora. So the grid is making its way through the Melbourne Loop on this green flag lap. So it's Sam Neary and Seamus Jennings on the front row of the grid, and then James Webb in the Lamborghini. John Seal on the inside. He was a non-classified in the first race of the day, so he'll be looking to make amends for that. Very quick pairing with Marcus Clutton, and the lights go out, and we are GT Cup Championship racing here at Donington Park, and it's Sam Neary who is being kept very honest indeed by Seamus Jennings. They go down to Redgate. Super start by John Dillon, who comes up in the 61 car from the outside of the second row. A super start by Dillon in the Ferrari, and he's up into third place, but Sam Neary eventually gets the Mercedes away from the Porsche. So now it's John Seal having a nibble in the 55 Lamborghini at John Dillon. He'll be very keen to get back in. What we don't know is whether the Lamborghini haven't had a practice session since this morning's race, but the Lamborghini did pick up a little bit of damage. Again, there was contact in race number 1. And of course we don't know how the car is going to handle, but John Seal, very capable pilot, with Marcus Clutton backing him up, and they will be certainly gunning for overall honours in this race. Everybody making it through safe and sound, and climbing up to our camera here at Coppice, the drivers making it out from the pit lane coming through as well, including the Bluebell Wood Children's Hospice car with Matt Topham at the wheel. It looks like he started perhaps from pit lane as well. I didn't see him tucked in behind the number 9 Ginetta, but we'll watch the progress of that car, which finished second in GTH in race 1. And I know they've had a few overheating issues as well, talking to Alex Toth-Jones earlier on in the day. So we'll watch the progress of the GT4 Aston Martin, the purple car, as we watch James Webb here. It could be on for another outright podium, back in fifth position at the moment. Down behind them it is Sam Randon and Ben Claydon. Not have the happiest of weekends. They have picked up points, and they were classified finishes in the last race, despite an off for Sam. But I think of this has unsettled them a little bit after two very good, strong meetings where they led the championship. And the championship lead still with their Team Hard teammates, but now switching from the championship lead from GTB to GTA, with Josh Jackson doing great work this morning to take the championship lead. So it's Sam Neary who sets the first lap, the rolling start lap 1:31. We expect him to be the only driver to break the 1:30 barrier here as he starts to build the lead up. And John Seal beginning to think about having a go at the Ferrari of John Dillon. We'll see whether he can do that. So John Dillon, who will hand over to pro driver Phil Quaife a little bit later on, as through goes Seamus Jennings ahead of them. James Webb in the Webb Racing Lamborghini Huracan's 5th position at the moment. And then, as we said, the leading GTB car at the moment, leading GTA, is Josh Jackson once again. GTH led by reigning champions John Whitehouse and Steve Ruston. So the sun is shining, it brings out the colour of these cars, and the sound for the spectators are missing. I shouldn't rub it in for people watching online, but you know, if you're not here, you're missing the glorious sound of these cars, which is why many people come racing. For me, you can forget electric cars. I just want to hear the noise and the smells and the vibrations that you get from these fantastic machines as they go across the line. Now let's have a look. Neary 1:29.471. There is Ron Johnson in the Toyota, up ahead of the Lindsay Collins Ginetta G55 at the moment. GTH car leading GTA machine. And it was good of Tom to say about the hard work, Tom Ingram in his interview, to say about what the hard work that Ron Johnson had done. But to be fair, it is across all the driver pairings a team effort. It's not about the work being done by one driver or the other. Each driver plays his or her part in the proceedings, doing exactly what they can and working hard, trying to get the car further up on the grid from where they start. So there's no one driver that will win a race on their own potentially out of that driver pairing. And Ron Johnson did his bit, but so too did Tom Ingram. This is a thrilling battle. We had a great scrap between these two this morning, and it ended in a little bit of contact. We're looking at the number 3 Marcos Mantis, which is started by Jensen Lunn. Now Jensen wasn't involved this morning, but the car that's just gone past very much was, and that's Tom Barrow. So Tom Barrow takes the lead of GTB. This morning the Marcos was driven by Warren Gilbert, and he will take over for the second stint. Jensen Lunn, incidentally, driving the silver and green Marcos. He's going to be very busy because the car will have to, both Marcos Mantises will have to pit at pretty much the same time, because Warren Gilbert's wife Charlotte is going to be handing over to Jensen Lunn, who's doing both stints. He's doing the first stint in this car and then the second half of the race in the other Top Cats Racing Marcos Mantis, which is now coming under pressure from the Ruston Whitehouse McLaren, and he's having a look up the inside at the moment. Is John Whitehouse, who starts the car. Problems there for Dave Scaramanga, who goes off but rejoins fairly quickly. Dave, one of the invitation entries, and again I'll make the point that we've got obviously a lot of regular registered championship drivers, but we also have some invitational drivers as well. So if you look at the championship points after you watch the coverage and think, well, hang on, where is Sam Neary in the championship? Sam, for example, one of the invitation drivers, a very welcome addition to the grid. Adds colour and competition for everybody, but he's not championship registered, so running as an invitation. And several of the cars are doing that. The ones we're looking at here, though, very much are part of the GT Cup Championship and fighting it out. We've got a mixture of classes: GTB, GTH and GTA, and Josh Jackson here in the GTA Ginetta. You've got to say, punching above his weight. This is great stuff from the former Mazda champion, who is looking. You can see the, as you would expect, the McLaren pulling away, but Josh Jackson in the Ginetta seems to be very, very good as they go through Schwantz, McLean's. Oh, and very sadly, the Aston Martin is in the pit lane. As I say, Alex Toth-Jones was telling me as through on the inside line goes John Whitehouse, makes up a position over the Marcos Mantis, but is he on the right side of the road here? No, he's not, as they come down into Goddard's the hairpin. A lot of drivers saying that they've forgotten how technical it is, having the two hairpins one after the other, and how demanding it is in this sort of machinery. You saw there, I'll tell you what, that Mantis has got less modern tech behind it. We've got a couple of cars off, and that's John Seal, who is off, and also John Dillon. So they were battling it out for position, for third position in the race, and both of them have had an off. They both, by the look of it, have rejoined. The question is, how far down the order have they rejoined? But John Seal in the mix again, and that could be a little bit of a dampener on his championship points hope. But now, where was I? I was talking about the various classes, and saying that, now we've got another Ginetta coming up in the mix as well, and that's Craig Wilkins. So the back of this quartet, Craig Wilkins, who's running in GTH, and he's second in GTH, so potentially class battle here. Wilkins in the number 80 car, Scott Sport prepared car, loads of work done overnight to replace his engine, and he is chasing the similar class GTH group entry of John Whitehouse, who is the championship leader and reigning champion, hence the number 1 on the car. So at the moment, Craig Wilkins is going to be fairly buoyed up to think that he's got the group leader just with one car between them, and it is a GTA car in between, so Craig's going to be keen to dispatch the Josh Jackson car, and Jackson through on the inside line of the Marcus Mantis. Is he going to be able to make this stick, or is it going to be the case that we saw with John Whitehouse earlier on? Is he going to be on the wrong side of the road? No, Josh has read that well, nips down the inside line into Goddard's, makes up the position. So GTA car passing GTB, and that's the GTB, I was going to say leader, but GTB leader at the moment is the Sam Random Ben Claydon car. 5 classes starting. We did have a GTO car as well, Richard Chamberlain's car, which was here yesterday and did a super first stint coming through the field after turbo issues. They had to travel all the way back to Leeds to sort out the turbo in their rebuilt engine, and did half a race. A pretty good start of a shakedown as Craig Wilkins, a noted GT driver, having raced in Blancpain, I think, and in the Porsche Club Championship, where he's a multiple race-winning driver. And I had a chat with Craig yesterday. Loves the Ginetta, and really very much at home in the car. Had problems, been on the back foot a little bit after drive shaft failure in one of the early rounds. Was at Silverstone. Have to check the results on that one, but actually dropping away a little bit now from the group, and closing up on Craig at the moment is Chris Murphy, former champion in the number 72 Aston Martin Vantage GT4, prepared by Team Whitebridge. Team Championship incidentally headed at the moment by Team Hard from Scott Sport, JMH Automotive third position, and Whitebridge the Aston Martin runners. You can see they're currently in 5th position in the Team Championship standings, and that car closing in at the moment. So this is good progress from the GTH car, and effectively podium battle going on there between the white Aston Martin and the red and yellow Ginetta coming along the straight. Just to give you a little bit of context to who is where in class, down behind them we have the 99 car of Charlotte Gilbert, running very well indeed, and we'll hand over to Jensen Lunn, who is still up ahead at the moment in the number 3 car. Actually only about 2 or 3 cars ahead at the moment, Jensen Lunn, but having a good race. So let's see whether Charlotte can close in on the Aston Martin. Charlotte running in GTB. Down behind them we've got Ron Johnson, and then Harry Yardley Rose, the teenager in the Team Hard Ginetta G55, having a decent race as well. Let's have a quick look at see if anyone's dipped into the 130s yet. No, they haven't. Maybe won't get that until the pros are out on track for the second half of the race. We're down to 39 minutes on the clock, and remember, nobody allowed to pit and change before 24 minutes has elapsed. And championship wise, it might be advisable for some of the drivers to obviously put the pro in as soon as possible to get the best out of the car towards the end of the race. So Charlotte Gilbert running very well here in the 99 car, trying to close down on Chris Murphy's Aston Martin. As I said, Chris the champion with Adam Hatfield back in 2018 GTH. Whitebridge were running the car that year as well, so all pretty close at the moment. I just remembered the point I was going to go back to and saying about the Marcus Mantis being the car that doesn't really have the modern gizmos on it. You know, the
the paddle shifts and all that sort of stuff. It is a lot more retro, if you want to call it. They're a lot more basic. As down the inside of Craig Wilkins now goes Chris Murphy. So change for second position in GTH. Very smartly executed, but I'll tell you what here, Craig Wilkins doesn't want to cede the place. He's giving him a good run as they come out of Hollywood and down through the crane of curves. And Charlotte Gilbert doing an excellent job in the Mantis, closing right up on them as well. You talk to many drivers, they love Donington, they love the undulations, they love the corners, the flow of the track. Some people say it's messed up a little bit by having the GP loop, but hey, who wouldn't want a lap where the Grand Prix car on the circuit where the Grand Prix cars have yesteryear raced? It is a good configuration. We're back at Donington as well for the fifth event, final event of the season, a little bit later on in the year. I think running on the national circuit on that occasion, so please make sure you join us for that, hopefully as a spectator if things open up. So coming along Starkey's straight, still side by side, and Craig Wilkins this time has got Charlotte Gilbert through on the inside line. Great move there by Charlotte, used to pedalling grunty cars around tracks. If you caught the interview with her in our earlier programme, you'll know that she raced in the TVR Tuscan Challenge going back in the day, and makes another pass as well. Charlotte going through on the inside line, and now we've got Murphy coming under pressure from Craig Wilkins. Craig wants the position back. He's going to maybe tee up the inside line as they go into Goddard's. A bit too far back to do that. Closes up under braking. I was talking to James Kellett about the aero on the Ginetta G55s earlier on, and the GT Cup is James' first foray as the race leader now. Sam Neary comes through. Flash of the lights from the Mercedes. Let's have a look and see what the lead is. Nips down on the inside line of Chris Murphy in the Aston Martin. The second place car still hasn't gone over the line yet, and Sam Neary's already on his way down towards the old hairpin. So building up a good lead. There you go, 24 seconds is the lead at the moment over Seamus Jennings in the Porsche. Not seen too much of Seamus, but Seamus working hard still ahead of James Webb. And Seamus himself has built up a decent lead in his GT3 car over the leading GTC machine of James Webb. So James, there he is, James Webb coming down into Redgate, chased by John Seal. So a brace of Lamborghini Hurricanes, the GT3 version, chasing our GTC category car. John having had that moment off track earlier on. John Dillon, incidentally, who we saw in that skirmish, he's still running in fifth place, second position in GTC. James Webb in the blue Lamborghini leading that at the moment. John Seal trying to put as much pressure on as he can in this mid-stage of the race. Has a look, and two fairly evenly matched cars at the moment, and John Seal, so we didn't quite know how that car was going to come out of the box for this race, having picked up damage in race number one. The engineers, of course, will put the car back as near as possibly they can to, say, qualifying a race one spec. And here comes John out of the slipstream, makes the move down into the Fox S's. Good piece of motor racing there by John Seal and indeed James Webb. James in the invitation class, so John Seal goes through, and a good decent clean move. John Seal now up into third place, so on for an overall podium again. That car, remember, outright winner of the endurance race yesterday afternoon. So John Seal comes out of Goddard's onto the Tom Wheatcroft straight once again. Quick look at the lead gap. Still 25 seconds over the Porsche here of Seamus Jennings, who goes through, having put a lap on David Franklin. He'll be handing over to former Ginetta champion Will Tregurtha. Dave Scaramanga next up after he's recovering. He'll hand over to Alex Powell in the second half of the race. I better be careful I say that, Alex Powell, as opposed to Alex Powell, who races in W Series. No doubt somebody will pull me up on that. So anyway, there is David Franklin having a good run in the 911 car. A brace of fourth positions in Class Fin this weekend, and fifth in the first race. And it's GTB car leading GTH here, so a good inter-class battle. Again, the number 11 car is one of the invitees into this weekend. And another of, I think Ginetta probably form the bigger part of this grid. It is a very eclectic grid. We've got a big number of different manufacturers represented, but Ginetta, I think, have the bigger numbers here. But this is a good battle between the two of them, and David Franklin on the outside line, and it's going to be Dave Scaramanga who goes through. Is he going to drift wide? No, he doesn't. David Franklin thinks about having a look down the inside line. David Franklin's got a super legend on the back of his race truck saying about how it was his boyhood dream to race in a Porsche, and he's achieved that dream. As goes around the outside. Look at that, superb stuff from David Franklin. And again, this is the essence of GT Cup racing, round the outside at Redgate, and a good clean move, nobody barging each other, giving each other room, giving each other space. David Franklin, well done, back up into 17th position. The Aston is limping around. That is not what we wanted to see. The 38 car of Matt Topham. Lots of guests from the Bluebell Wood Hospice here today, and they won't want to be seeing that, and it is sad. They've had all sorts of problems with that car. It was qualifying was great, but the technical infringement on the mapping saw the car put to the back of the grid. And then race number one, there was a misfire, which apparently they had before, and towards the end of race one, in which the car did get up to second position in class for Matt Topham with a good drive, they started experiencing overheating issues, and they were worried they were going to carry forward into the race. And it looks like that car is not happy at the minute. David Franklin is, though, because he's got the better of Dave Scaramanga and starting to pull away. We'll see whether the Ginetta can get back on track. It's the 24/7 Motorsport car which heads through. And now we've got John Seal. You can see John Seal pulling away from James Webb at the moment. Webb in the blue Lamborghini just towards the back of shot. Here is our second place car now, 32 seconds down the road, but running second in GT3. Seamus Jennings will hand over to Greg Caton, and he's closing in here on Craig Wilkins. Lots of blaze on Craig Wilkins' car. Craig running in third position still in GTH. GTH headed by Steve Ruston, actually John Whitehouse at the wheel. Steve Ruston, of course, will take over in the next part of the race, so John Whitehouse still leading that class. Probably a good time to give you a run through of who are winning the classes. So Sam Neary obviously overall in GT3, GTC led by James Webb, fourth position overall. Sam Randon heading GTB, the erstwhile championship leaders coming into this weekend. GTH led by John Whitehouse at the moment in the McLaren, and GTA led by Josh Jackson, once again looking to consolidate his championship lead. Franklin passed his Porsche, passed by the Lamborghini, as we would have expected. That James Webb Racing Hurricane busy trying to hunt down the GT3 version of John Seal at the moment. David Franklin fifth in GTB. He's going to be chasing. We've got husband and wife together on track, actually, but it's certainly on the timing screen. I don't know if they are on track. Warren Gilbert's car, no, it's not husband and wife, because Jensen Nunn's in the car, isn't he, at the moment, in the number 3 car. But the Top Cat Racing cars together on the timing screen, so very evenly matched the Mantises. At the moment, as we watch the 33 car, here is Seamus Jennings. 29 minutes remaining on the clock, so we are beginning to think about that pit stop window opening now. And a quick reminder, 60 seconds, even if it's one driver in the car, and that driver doing the second stint, 60-second pit stop will happen. They're also allowed some pass-through time, 15 seconds, and then instead of having ballast on the car, success ballast, we have success seconds in the pit lane as well. So the championship leaders, including this man here, Josh Jackson, will get a longer pit stop as a result, and that may well affect things. For example, in GTA, Jackson running 10th at the moment, is the class leader. And just to give you an idea of how well Josh Jackson's doing, his teammate, busy chasing him, is in 16th, so he's got 5 cars between himself and Harry Yardley Rose, who is second in GTA. Third in GTA at the moment is, having made up a place on starting position, is Alex Stevenson, who's managed to get ahead of the Russ Lindsay and Patrick Collins car. Patrick Collins at the wheel as John Dillon now wants to put a lap on David Frankland. He's going to have a look on the inside line here. So the Ferrari nips through at the weekend. Mixed bag of a weekend so far. 2 second places in class and a non-classified for the Scott Sport Ferrari. Extremely well prepared car, as indeed they all are, but I have to say I probably have my moments looking at all the cars. As being pushed away is the Lindsay Collins car. So Russ Lindsay and Patrick White, that is how Alex Stevenson, I think, with all due deference to him, is how he's got up into 3rd place in class. So bad news to see the Lindsay Collins car out. And how's that going to affect the championship? Because Russ Lindsay was 3rd. I'm wondering whether... No, Stevenson and Kellett won't have the opportunity to go 3rd in the championship here because there aren't enough points on offer today, but they will be looking to do it next time out at Brands Hatch. Meanwhile, back with the race leader, quick look at Sam Neary, and he's crossed the line. We're still waiting for 2nd place Seamus Jennings to come across the line. Championship, not championship leader, well, he is in Class H. John Whitehouse still there, and up ahead of Josh Jackson. Josh is to be very, very pleased with this performance for Team Hard, again building the championship lead for Team Hard. Appropriately enough, the car that he's chasing at the moment is the Scott Sport entry. John Seal taking the wide line there. And now, is there something down? That's Ron Johnson having a gyration in the Toyota. So the 32 car, I think, waiting for a safe moment to rejoin. There don't seem to be any other cars coming through. He's going to fire it up again. The Blue Book does say that you have to wait for a safe moment to rejoin. Thankfully the Supra GT4 is going, so a little moment on the grass, and Ron Johnson, who was 4th in GTH, is now 5th because the blue car going through is Dave Scaramanga, so down to 5th position in class. Had a good lead though, didn't he, in 4th position over Dave Scaramanga, who had his own moment I think earlier on in the race. And Ron Johnson giving Tom Ingram a little bit of work to do here in the second half of the race, but if anyone relish it, it will be Tom, who will take over very shortly. 25, just under 26 minutes left of this race now as Sam Neary goes through once again. The blue flag, as you can see in the background, being waved by the marshals. A big shout out and thank you to all the marshals who are here and keeping us racing and doing a sterling job as ever. So still 1:29, the fastest lap of the race. It would count for a championship point for Sam Neary if he wasn't running in the invitation class. So Harry Yardley Rose just being passed there, and a wee moment on the grass for the Aston Martin of Mike Brown, 4th position in GT3, and Mike doing his utmost to come through. Actually, I'm wondering, I've got a good friend called Mike Brown who used to race Astons, and he introduced me to circuit racing all those years ago. Raced a DB4 back in the probably late 1970s, early 1980s with the Aston Martin Owners Club. But that's a different Mike Brown racing this weekend, but big thanks to the other one for taking me along and introducing me to these fantastic cars. So the pit stop window is open. John Seal makes an early stop. In the distance we've got the first of the Mantises in as well. So as well as the driver change, they may have to change the seat position or the pedals. Remember that needs to be done as well. Sam Neary staying out a little bit longer, and who can blame him? I think Dad Richard will be probably very pleased with that. You've got to probably pick your time, and towards the end of yesterday's window there were less cars in pit lane, and so that can unclutter the exit from your pit strategy and maybe give you a little bit more of a lead on track. So Sam Neary busy closing in now on Mike Brown. Lights ablaze for Mike, and not making it easy at the moment. Runs wide. Neary powers his way out of McLean's, and here you get this great shot of the climb. It really is a climb up into Coppice. One of the places where Sam Neary lost the lead of the race yesterday, only to gain it back to Marcus Clutton, who will be out on circuit very soon if he's not already there. And John Seal, Marcus Clutton still running in 3rd place. So John's work is done for the weekend. As we mentioned, it's Jensen Lunn who will take over the second Top Cat car. So Jensen, having done one stint, has a little bit of a breather and comes out, and the number 3 Marcos now is driven by Warren Gilbert. So Jensen Lunn out of the car, Warren Gilbert is in. And we'll have a look at the class positions once we're a little bit further on through the driver changes and pit stops. But no question about the Mercedes leading now. Ron Johnson coming in, so watch for Tom Ingram. Or is that Tom Ingram going out? No, the change is done and Tom Ingram's on his way out. So Tingram is coming out. He's going to be chasing David Frankland very shortly as well. Warren Gilbert giving chase here. About to have a look at John Whitehouse. Powers up the Mantis as they come along Starkey Straight. It's going to be on the outside line. Yep, very clean manoeuvre there, which is done. We've got Craig Wilkins in the 80 car, lone driver, and now there in the number 9 car going out from third position in GTA is James Kellett, who joins the race. And James, I'm not sure whether I got the point out about James talking about the aero. James used to race in Ginetta Challenge, obviously the juniors before that. But this, I think, is his first outing. Here he is in the Simtrack black car, where James works the simulator centre in the Ginetta factory, run by Adam Croft, the noted Caterham racer back in the day, and former BRSCC Porsche racer as well. And I'll get back to the point eventually, which is that talking to James Kellett, he was saying how much he was surprised about how the aero works on the front of the car, and then when you get into the toe, as it were, of a car in front of you, that aero, the effect of the aero wears off, and you have to work so much harder and have to think about your overtakes in a much different way. Craig Wilkins coming out of pit lane as well, but it's Richard Neary, Sam Neary still there at the moment with that 129, starting to have a quick look at the other times to see whether we're going to see any other drivers dipping below 1 minute 30. Mike Brown not handing over to Matt Manderson. Matt not taking part in this race, as we heard shortly before the off here, and just using the opportunity to clear out the grass and debris which can overheat the car very, very badly indeed. Down on the inside line of Harry Yardley Rose goes the race leader, so Harry having a good run of it at the moment. Second in GTA to his teammates, so Team Hard 1-2 at the moment in GTA. And the young teenager will hand over to Callum Jenkins. It'll be a dismal day for them yesterday. Second position in class this morning as Tom Barrow comes into the pit lane. Fan goes in front of the car. Cool it down as much as we can. Super to see the BMW, real superb piece of kit, very well prepared, and it's had an exceedingly good weekend so far. Tom with 2 wins yesterday, unbeaten yesterday, second position in class today, and Sam Neary completes his stint, comes into pit lane. The race leader is coming in. I can't tell you the lead at the moment because the second place car of James Webb currently hasn't come through. Now, is it that we're going to see Richard Neary go out in the lead? I suspect we may well do that because Sam has built up a very, very good, strong lead as well at the moment. So the Mercedes will hand over to Dad. John Dillon involved and managing to pass last year's champion. The number 1 car, incidentally, John Whitehouse and Steve Ruston, unbeaten all weekend so far in class. So hats off to the GTH runners here. That's why they're the reigning champions and defending their title this year. The McLaren 570 GT4 has run well, but coming under pressure now from the GTB Marcos, who might be on the wrong side of the road, and John Whitehouse is having none of that at all at the moment in the number 1 car. So new fastest lap, as we would have expected, new fastest lap of the race, and it goes to Marcus Clutton. 1:28.438, so the second driver to get under 1:30, and straight away, right on the button, is Marcus Clutton. I didn't intend that to rhyme, but sadly it did rather badly. Out of pit lane comes the car which is still leading the race. So how much of a lead is Richard Neary going to have? Waits for the signal to come from pit lane. Lights ablaze, he's going to be cutting through some traffic and rejoins. So it's the father and son team that will rejoin in lead position. James Webb is in second. Tom Barrow sadly has had a moment on the grass in the BMW, possibly on cold tyres coming out. Maybe he didn't have the heat in. And I'll have to speculate on that because we haven't seen any other cars involved. But you know, maybe after a break, that's what's happened. The tyres have cooled down. You can see the fan in front of the car. Not sure it would have had that much effect. But touring round now, so I'm wondering if it's a breakage maybe for the BMW. Let's hope that he can keep going. So making it past Warren Gilbert goes the race leader Richard Neary now at the controls. So the driver pairing swapped over from yesterday. We had Richard doing the sprint race. Sam did the qualifying, I think, on both days. Richard did the opening stint of yesterday's Enduro, and then second stint was done by Sam. Into pit lane as well, the James Webb Lamborghini, and James handing over to himself, so to speak. They haven't had a pit stop yet for Josh Jackson, so Josh will have to, and his, remember, will include a success penalty. Josh Jackson is the championship leader and the man who won the last race. Richard Neary popping through on the inside line and getting back up to speed. One of Richard's best times. Let's have a look at his last lap. We'll do that next time around because this is his out lap from the pits, of course. So Richard crosses the line, but I can tell you that the fastest man on track, as we look at the unbeaten car of John Whitehouse, fastest car on track is that of Marcus Clutton, who won yesterday's Enduro with John Seal, and he is in 4th place at the moment, but with a fair amount of work to do. 99 car now with Jensen Lunn racing it. Charlotte Gilbert having a well-earned breather, and Charlotte in her interview this morning telling us that she preferred the sprint races. Obviously not having to do the whole thing today, could have done the whole race, but thoroughly enjoyed the sprint races. And I guess that's her days in TVR Tuscans and the like back in the day. A quick look where Dave Scaramanga is still 5th position at the moment in GTH, trying to hunt down Tom Ingram. It's going to be a big task for him to hunt down Tingram, as he's known from his days in the Ginetta Championships. Obviously Ginetta being based in Leeds, there's a strong Yorkshire flavour. It's a great shot there of the 61, the brakes lighting up on John Dillon's Ferrari. That was a superb shot as he came down into, just showed you how hard the mechanics work in these cars as he came down into Goddard's. And then, of course, as soon as you're out of Goddard's, it's like the back tyres and disappear down the home straight. Amazing stuff. Wonderful view of that car. James Webb still in 4th place. Marcus Clutton is now up to 3rd. So most of the pit stops. Let's now have a look at the various class positions for you whilst we work out who's where. It is Richard Neary now the race leader, and Seamus Jennings, Greg Caton 2nd position from 3rd place. Again, all three of these GT3. Marcus Clutton in 3rd place. 4th position is our leading GTC car of James Webb. GTB, the next class that we come across a leader in, and that is now Ben Claydon running in 7th place. GTA still led by Josh Jackson. GTH led by Chris Murphy, and we've actually got Claydon, Jackson and Murphy, the GTB, GTA and GTH runners, 1 place behind each other on circuit at the moment. So some very good inter-class racing going on. James Kellett in GTA, how much work has he got to do to catch up with Callum Jenkins? The answer is lots of work, so it may not be a win for the number 9 car today, as through on the inside line goes the 4th place number 13 car, 4th place overall, GTC leader James Webb going through. Now watch John Dillon, and in fact it's Phil Quaife now, isn't it, at the wheel of the Ferrari, trying to close down on the Lamborghini, and Phil Quaife is one quick pilot as well. That was Phil that lit up the brakes. I'm sure that John Dillon was doing that as well going in, but cameraman and directors managed to catch that superbly. So this is a fascinating battle that we've got on here for the class lead in GTC. James Webb would have been disappointed not to have had Jim and Glyn Geddy for company in GTC, but he's still got a race on his hands here with the 61 car, which had non-finish, 2 second places in class so far. So looking to try and better that. The number 9 car down behind is the James Kellett GTA G55. James also a keen athlete as well, and coaching a good number of drivers, good number of up-and-coming young drivers, and he's been through all that experience, which is great that he can pass on his experience to these youngsters and drivers of more mature years as well, like Alex Stevenson, who he's working with this weekend. This is a fine battle, isn't it? This is what we saw for the overall lead yesterday, and this time it's the battle for GTC honours and 4th position overall. And Phil Quaife putting James Webb under a lot of pressure here. Let's see what Quaife can do. Explores an outside. Look how close he gets without touching. Problems there for, I think that's Callum Jenkins. It looks like he was on the way out of pit lane, having been handed over the controls by Harry Yardley-Rose. The car is safe, but this battle is absolutely superb between these two. Lamborghini versus Ferrari here at Donington Park. 12 minutes on the clock, and they could not be closer. And I tell you what, Phil Quaife, if he'd have got that car at Ferrari any closer, there would have been damage, but there wasn't. It was precision driving by Phil Quaife, just letting James Webb know that he was there. He's backed off a little bit now, maybe having a little bit of a breather, just trying to watch what the Lamborghini's doing and maybe see where there might be a weak spot on circuit for him to pop the Ferrari down the inside if he's able to. We haven't seen that car get up onto P1 in GT3 all weekend, GTC all weekend, and they're being closed down on now by the race leader Richard Neary, and I can tell you that the lead of the race is 30.5 seconds. Neary ahead of Greg Payton, who's taken over from Seamus Jennings. And then another fastest lap on the last lap for Marcus Clutton in 3rd place. Marcus is, well, 24 seconds down behind Seamus Jennings. So I doubt at the moment whether we're going to see a change for 2nd position as well. So Marcus Clutton, I don't think he's going to be able to emulate what he did yesterday. But this is a super scrap going on for GTC honours. Which again, as they go through Goddard's onto the Tom Wheatcroft straight, coming past the 78 car, the GTB class leader as well. So we've got a gamut of class leaders in the mix here, 3 class leaders all together. And Ben Claydon moves wide to the outside line. That's super racing from the Team Hard Porsche. That car, a 1997 Porsche Cup car, which Team Hard have brought into GT Cup this year. Richard Neary's going to look down the inside line. He has to use a little bit of curb there. James Webb not giving him that much room to go through, but for the moment the race leader has split up the 2 GTB runners. I'm sure he'll get the job done as we nip back and watch David Franklin coming down towards us in the 911 car. Chris Murphy and his Aston running in Class H is the GTH class leader as well. So Murphy here looking as if he's going to deny the McLaren a quartet of wins this weekend. So that's a notable story happening as David Franklin has a look around the outside line as they go into Schwab's. Very well executed indeed. And this is bringing the number 1 car back in the mix. Steve Ruston now, of course, at the wheel, the former Caterham racer, looking to try and get the lead back and see whether he can in GT8. So we've got a great battle going on for GTC and also for the GTH lead today. Superb stuff. Tom Barrow having a lonely race at the moment. Quick check on Barrow, back in 4th position. This is by far and away the worst race of the weekend for the BMW, but stunning form shown in the 3 races that we had prior to this. And I guess you always probably want to go away with the last race being the best, because that leaves you buoyed up for the next race meeting, which of course takes place at Brands Hatch. So hopefully we'll see the Barrow BMW out once again. We'll battle on for the lead here. Let's see what Steve Ruston can do. So Ruston is the chaser at the moment. They'll be a little bit mindful of the fact that he's got the BMW down behind him as well, and that closes up. But the number 1 car still maintains the chase as they come across the line again. Let's have a quick look at the timing screen to pick up on the race leader Richard Neary. 27 seconds is the race lead now. Marcus Clutton 46 seconds down. Ruston is being challenged by the BMW, looks up the inside line, but Steve Ruston makes good use of that outside line. But now he's getting involved in a tussle. This is not good for him, as Chris Murphy will start to pull away. Through goes Marcus Clutton, third position car in the race, busy chasing, and the other class runners effectively extinguishing the race lead between the class race lead between the Ferrari and the Aston Martin. Hopefully it'll just be a little bit of a breather and they'll be able to resume action. I've been neglecting to look at the time clock as well, and I can tell you that there are 7 minutes 38 seconds to go, so there is time for that battle in GTH to reignite, although looking at the gap between the cars at the moment, that may well be done and dusted. So we might turn our attentions back to GTC and Phil Quaife and James Webb. In fact, it's Quaife now up into the class lead, group lead, beg your pardon, group GTC lead from James Webb. Third in GTC is, well, we don't have one at the moment, so through Goddard's they go again. See whether Steve Ruston can close down and maybe repass the BMW. And was there a little bit of contact there? It was Jensen Lunn defending from Ben Claydon. So very tight race going on between the pair of them here in the 99 car, trying to work out if there's a lap between them or not. And the 99 car is in 5th position in GTB, so has dropped back a little bit. The 78 car is the class leader, so a little bit of needle between the two of them. And has the number 3 Mantis, which is in front of the Porsche, got ahead, or is it about to be lapped? Now, I've got to try and make sense of the positions after the pit stops, but you can see the number 3 car coming through, and that pedalled by Warren Gilbert. So is Warren Gilbert in the lead? Certainly on the timing screen it shows that Ben Claydon is the leader, but we'll have to wait for them to go through and tick off the lap. Through goes Josh Jackson again in the black and orange Ginetta. The Green Machine 55 of Marcus Clutton goes through. The lead gap is now 24 seconds. Richard Neary to Greg Caton, and then we'll see what the gap is from second to third when the Lamborghini Huracan crosses the line, just ahead of the GTB former championship leader. This is going to be good if we may well see, no it was, so Warren Gilbert did get ahead, so Warren Gilbert has reclaimed the lead of GTB at the expense of Ben Claydon. So Ben's still in second position. He's been a little bit disappointed with his results this weekend, but down in second position in the class. Third position in GTB is David Franklin. In fact, now David Franklin goes through into second place as well. Josh Jackson going through. So Ben Claydon losing a couple of positions over the last couple of laps. Don't think has been as happy here at Donington as he has been in the previous 2 events that we've had this season. 4:45 on the clock, and well, it's been a fascinating race. It's been a lonely race for this guy, or these guys. James Jennings, of course, handed over to Greg Caton, who is at the wheel of the car now, and another driver who has broken the 130 barrier here on his last lap, actually. So Greg Caton, a 1:29.099. Only 3 drivers breaking the 1 minute 30 barrier, which were Sam Neary, Marcus Clutton, and now Greg Caton. So fascinating to watch those. Here's Tom Ingram at the moment, about to be approached by James Webb. Webb down in 5th position now because Phil Quaife has got past him as well. Phil Quaife has been on a mission and pulled away. So as we go, Phil Quaife, in fact, I think has got a long way away, and suggests to me there might have been a little bit of a problem as well. We have a problem with a GTB Mantis. It's the number 3 car. It was the class leader who has come to a halt on circuit. Bitter disappointment therefore for Warren Gilbert, who took over from Jensen Lunn, and he's out of the race. So drama as we get into the closing stages of this race. The car is very definitely stuck. You can see very heavily waved yellow flags, which will remain in evidence until the driver is clear, or indeed the car is clear. And that means we're going to have another change for GTB class lead, and it means that David Franklin and Will Tregurtha are now leading the class. So Will Tregurtha is going to bag a class win here, assuming he keeps his car going. And I neglected to say that David had, of course, handed over to Will Tregurtha, but super drive by Will. David Franklin's going to be made up with that. It's the first time, as we mentioned before in our coverage, that David Franklin has run with another driver in the championship, and to be rewarded with a win for his hard work in the first part of the race. But Will Tregurtha's come through and will lead the class, albeit at the expense of Warren Gilbert, which is a pity for Warren, the Top Cats racing team, as Richard Neary continues to lead, and he's maintained that. It's still over 20 seconds the lead, 21 seconds from first to second, 38 seconds from first to third. So closing stages, we're looking at James Webb, who ran on podium pace early on, down in fifth position now. Dave Scaramanga fourth in GTH, Craig Wilkins is third, so he's on for a GTH podium. Craig going back into second position in the GTH standings this weekend by virtue of it changed around yesterday. James Guest made second position in GTH standings yesterday after the first race, then had problems, gearbox problems, went home, withdrew from the rest of the meeting. Craig Wilkins got back into the meeting after his engine problems overnight, bagged 18 points and went back in front. There is the Mantis, which is going to hopefully limp round and make it into pit lane and safety, we hope. Craig Wilkins, who we were talking about there, made it around the outside line. There he is in the red and yellow Ginetta with 1 minute 26 on the clock. The Mantis, I think, there is safe. There might be enough power to maybe get it into pit lane. The other Mantis, I think, is still running. Possibly not. So we'll check up on that for you before the end of the race, which is looking settled at the moment for Richard Neary. So it's a GT3123 GTC headed by Phil Quaife at the moment, who took over from John Dillon, and then James Webb second in GTC. GTB led by Will Tregurtha after the first stint by David Franklin. GTA led by Josh Jackson once again, so a great day for Josh Jackson, who will extend the championship lead. And GTH is once again led by the defending champions John Whitehouse and Steve Ruston, who will, after all, make it a complete quartet of wins. So they've done a super job. As with 30 seconds left on the clock now, we join Richard Neary. I think we might be able to squeeze another lap out of this. He's making his way down towards the hairpin, second of the two hairpins in the Melbourne Loop, exits that onto the Wheat Cross straight, 14 seconds to go. So it's going to be one more lap of GT Cup Championship action for the Mercedes, which I mentioned again we saw last year. It's almost history repeating itself, because we would have seen 3 Neary wins as we did last September in GT Cup. Crawling along in pit lane now, the number 3 Marcos. That's a sad sight. It was a good drive by Jensen Lunn and Warren Gilbert, but sadly not to be a category victory on this occasion. Through, passing the GTH Aston of Chris Murphy. Murphy second in GTH at the moment, did hold the GTH group lead earlier on, and it is going to be the Mercedes going through the Fogarty S's for the last time. It was a really good first stint from young Sam Neary, who won the sprint race this morning, and that really set up the work. And contact there on the 78 car. Again, it's been a dismal weekend for Ben Clayton and Sam Randon, and that car is in contact with the BMW. That's going to have ramifications, not on the overall, not on the group winners, but certainly on the group podiums, as coming down to the checkered flag here on the 4th race of the weekend, and it's 3 out of 4 for the Mercedes AMG GT3 of father and son pairing Richard and Sam Neary. Very, very sad to see Tom Barrow's BMW involved in damage, and that was with the 78 Team Hard Porsche with Ben Claydon at the wheel. Ben's not been happy here this weekend, but I'm sure will resume normal service at Brands Hatch and get some decent points. They will still lead the GTB standings as they leave Donington Park for sure, but not the happiest of weekends. Tom Ingram comes through on the inside of Dave Scaramanga there. Through across the line as well goes Craig Wilkins, and limping, I think, into the pits goes the Team Hard Porsche. But it was Richard Neary who took the flag, with Greg Caton second, partnering up, of course, with Seamus Jennings, and third position, also third in GT3, the John Seal, Marcus Clutton Hurricane. But for that contact, might have been closer to the top spot. 25 seconds adrift of the winner at the end of the day, as Will Tregurtha crosses the line and takes the win. Will Tregurtha in GTB. Congratulations to Will and to David Frankland on taking that. David Frankland not only achieving his boyhood ambition of racing a Porsche 911, but also taking a win with teammate Will Tregurtha. Superb stuff from GT Cup. Let's continue running down the results for you. And so GTC going to Phil Quaife and John Dillon, and they were ahead of fifth position man, second in GTC, James Webb. There is Josh Jackson, who has just secured the GTA category. He was in 8th place, 7th, just ahead of him, the GTB winners, we said, Will Tregurtha and David Frankland, behind Josh Jackson, and winning GTH, the McLaren, brought to the flag by Steve Ruston, race started by John Whitehouse, and then in 10th position, Chris Murphy, second position in GTH, the GTH podium being completed by Tom Ingram at the flag, Ron Johnson having the first stint, and that completes our top 11 and all of the GT categories that we have here in terms of the winners. 12th position was fourth in GTH, which was Dave Scaramanga and Alex Powell. Alex bringing the car to the flag. Craig Wilkins, disappointing weekend for Craig. He'll bounce back, I'm sure. 13th place, 5th in class in GTH, and then 14th place, second position in GTA category for James Kellett and Alex Stevenson. Good hard work from them in this afternoon's race to bring them through the order. 15th was the Porsche we saw involved towards the end of the race, that of Ben Claydon and Sam Randon, another non-finisher as well. Very sadly, the number 20 BMW of Tom Barrow. So that completes our run through of the results for our endurance race here at Donington Park. Josh Jackson and Simon Orange take over the overall championship lead, while still, of course, leading GTA. GTB headed by erstwhile championship leaders Sam Randon and Ben Claydon. In GTH, Steve Ruston and John Whitehouse still top the standings. And in fourth position, the GTB pairing of Jensen Lunn and Warren Gilbert. GTC headed by John Dillon and Aaron Scott. Sixth place is David Frankland from Chris Murphy and Steve Burt. Craig Wilkins in 8th is third in GTH. Next up, Callum Jenkins and Ollie Brown in GTA. The top 10 completed by Patrick Collins and Russ Lindsay. Let's go down and get some closing words from Michelle.
Well, I'm here with car number 13 of James Webb and Tom Webb, just coming back into the garage. What a fantastic race, some superb battles and of course excellent driving. Huge congratulations to Sam and Richard Neary and to all class winners. That is it from Donington. There are still 2 more rounds to come, and hopefully, all being well, we'll be back here at Donington at the end of October. Before that, there's a visit to the iconic Grand Prix track at Brands Hatch, so I do hope you can join us for that. And in the meantime, you can watch all the racing from previous rounds on Amazon Prime, on our YouTube channel, and also on Facebook. And don't forget to give us a follow on Instagram at GT Cup Championship. But that's it from Donington. So until next time, stay safe. Goodbye.